provocations escalate. Democrats compete for attention, and yes, I will indeed review Game of Thrones. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So spoiler alert, Bran, what the F? Okay, well, we'll get to all that later on in the show. I don't want to talk politics. I just want to do an hour on that final Game of Thrones episode. So later in the show, we will do a full hour on that Game of Thrones final episode. But first, we're never going to agree on everything. I think we can all agree that Bran should not have been king. But I think we can all agree on something else, too. We could all use more sleep. Getting a great night's sleep is easier and more affordable than you think. You don't need a new expensive mattress or sleeping pills. You just need to change your sheets. That's why you should check out Boll & Branch. Everything Boll & Branch makes, from bedding to blankets, is made from pure 100% organic cotton, which means they start out super soft. They get even softer over time. You buy it directly from them, so you're essentially paying wholesale prices. Luxury sheets, those can cost up to $1,000 in the store, but Boll & Branch sheets are only a couple of $100. Everyone who tries Boll & Branch sheets loves them. Shipping is free. You can try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a refund. I don't think you're going to want to send them back because they are indeed awesome. My wife and I have Boll & Branch sheets. We actually threw out all of our other sheets because once you have tried them, they kind of ruin other sheets for you. They're that good. There's no risk and no reason not to give them a try. To get you started right now, my listeners can get $50 off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com, promo code Ben. That is bollandbranch.com today. Bollandbranch.com for $50 off your first set of sheets. That's BOLL and branch.com, promo code Ben. Bollandbranch.com, promo code Ben. Go check them out right now. Okay, so over the weekend, the Iranians continued to escalate the situation in the Middle East. They obviously would like a conflict. So President Trump does not want a conflict. The Trump administration does not want a conflict. Despite all of the talk from the left about John Bolton itching for conflict with the Iranians, we are now in year 3 of the Trump administration. He does not want a conflict with Iran. He would like to see the regime fall. He would like to see it fall from the inside, and that involves containment and, yes, the credible threat of military force to prevent Iran from getting too aggressive. But it's pretty obvious that Trump doesn't want war. Trump is by nature more of an isolationist on foreign policy. He does not like being involved in different areas of the world. Nonetheless, President Trump threatened Iran with destruction as tensions flared after a rocket almost hit the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, according to The Sun in the UK. Apparently, a rocket landed less than a mile from the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad's green zone, further stoking hostility in the region. Tensions between the United States and Iran have escalated in recent weeks after American warships and bombers were ordered to the Middle East to counter an unexplained threat. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and its consulate in the northern city of Erbil evacuated non-essential staff this week following the escalating tensions with Iran. Trump has also tightened economic sanctions. Originally, a brigadier general in the British Army said that he did not see the reason why the United States was getting uptight with Iran. And then it turns out that the Secretary of State, the Foreign Secretary, in Britain, came forward and said, no, the info's pretty good. Iran is getting a lot more militant. So President Trump tweeted out in his own inimitable fashion, quote, "If Iran wants to fight, that would be the official end of Iran. Never threaten the United States again!" Exclamation point. Now, I appreciate the sentiment. I really do. I also will note that President Trump used exactly the same sort of language with regard to North Korea before he then had his much ballyhooed summit with Kim Jong-un, which resulted in approximately nothing. It resulted in the North Koreans continuing to develop their technology. It resulted in the North Koreans being elevated on the world stage. So taking President Trump's Twitter account at face value is always a mistake. President Trump fulminates on his Twitter account. He says bloviating things on his Twitter account. I think it would be good if the Iranian regime understands that if they cross a line, we will end them. And the truth is we would end them. They could do us damage because they have terror cells all around the world. They could do us damage because there are American allies within striking distance of Iranian missiles. But if they were to go to full-scale war with the United States, that war lasts not particularly long because the fact is the U.S. military is the greatest fighting force ever assembled in the history of mankind, and Iran is a second-rate military force despite the large size of the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps. Nonetheless, it is obvious that President Trump does not want war with Iran. General David Petraeus, who's not exactly a friend of the administration, he came out on ABC this week. He said, no, Trump is not interested in war, and this is obviously true.
Frankly, it's pretty clear that he doesn't want to go to war with Iran. He's not after regime change. He's after what Secretary Pompeo has announced as the objective, which is regime behavior change. Iran is a country that has a population that is 3 times the size of Iraq when we invaded it, and a landmass that is 3 to 4 times the size of Iraq as well. And I think any thoughts about invading Iran, again, rightly, the president has shelved those, I think.
Okay, so Petraeus is, of course, correct about this. Now, the way the media are treating this is that Trump is right on the verge of launching war in Iran. This is going to be a wag the dog scenario. Yeah, except Trump hasn't built any support for that. Look at the poll numbers. This would not be a popular move. There's nobody on the right who's in favor of a war with Iran at this point. Legitimately, no one. John Bolton is not in favor of war with Iran. I don't know a single person in conservative circles who's interested in war with Iran at this point, including the most quote-unquote neocon forces inside the conservative movement. So I don't know where this narrative is coming from, that Trump is desperate for a war with Iran. In reality, Iran is desperate for some sort of military conflict short of complete war with the United States, because they're trying to shore up their flailing economy. They're trying to create a rally round the flag effect in Iran. There have been running protests for months there thanks to economic shortages. That's been largely ignored by the world media, mainly because the media do not have great access to what is going on in Iran. But the media in the West are creating this narrative that Trump is desperate for war, that Trump is trying to do a George W. Bush circa 2003 with regard to Iraq. Again, there is no evidence of that whatsoever. Now, meanwhile, over the weekend, a lot of controversy broke out because Justin Amash, who is a congressperson from Michigan, Republican congressperson, very libertarian, he's been a guest on our radio show. Justin Amash tweeted this out over the weekend, quote, "Here are my principal conclusions." This is after reading the Mueller report. 1, Attorney General Barr has deliberately misrepresented Mueller's report. Now, again, I don't think there's any evidence for that at all. I'm going to analyze these one by one. I don't think there's any evidence for this at all, that Barr has deliberately misrepresented Mueller's report. We can all see the report. Barr gave the bottom line conclusions in the Mueller report. Mueller's people themselves acknowledged that those conclusions were accurate. They just didn't like the characterization. They thought that Barr should have originally laid out all of the evidence in his original letter, when Barr basically just said, look, my job as Attorney General is not to make a case against somebody we are not prosecuting. My job as the Attorney General is to say whether or not the person is being prosecuted. Justin Amash also claimed that President Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct. He then does not name what exactly the impeachable conduct is. Now, here's the truth about impeachment. Impeachment is, of course, a political standard. It is not, in fact, a legal standard. So you can impeach anybody for virtually any reason. High crimes and misdemeanors does not have any legal definition. In other words, if Congress were to impeach the president, he can't then appeal to the Supreme Court and say, well, Congress deliberately misinterpreted high crimes and misdemeanors. The impeachment is no good. Congress can do whatever it wants right there. So numbers 1 and 2, he has 4 points that he makes in this tweet that got all sorts of attention because he's a Republican, saying that Trump is impeachable. So point number 1 that he makes is that Barr deliberately misrepresented Mueller's report. I see no evidence of this. Point number 2, Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct. Well, it depends on your definition of impeachable conduct, I suppose, but I don't see anything that he did that is quote-unquote impeachable. I see stuff that's bad. I see that President Trump did stuff that is embarrassing for him. I see that President Trump fulminates in a way that is unbecoming of the office. But is that impeachable? He didn't commit obstruction of justice, according to Mueller himself. He didn't actually engage in any collusion with the Russians. So what exactly is impeachable as opposed to just embarrassing bad conduct? 3, this is Amash's third point, partisanship has eroded our system of checks and balances. Well, that part is obviously true, but that's been true for a very long time. I mean, Eric Holder was acting, in his own words, as President Obama's wingman. So that is nothing new. Partisanship has, of course, eroded our system of checks and balances. Congress no longer holds the president to account if he's a member of their own party. And if the president is not a member of their own party, then people are interested in endless investigations, even if those investigations result in nothing. And finally, Amash says few members of Congress have read the report. That obviously is true as well. The media ran with this because Amash is, of course, a libertarian-leaning Republican in Michigan. He's in a very tightly contested race in Michigan. He's the most likely Republican to be ousted in a primary at this point. As a general rule, I really like Justin Amash. Representative Amash, his perspective on the role of government, I think, is quite correct. He and I have similar views on the role of government and the libertarian nature of government. With that said, Amash, I think, is off base here. He then completes his tweets by suggesting, contrary to Barr's portrayal, Mueller's report reveals that President Trump engaged in specific actions and a pattern of behavior that meet the threshold for impeachment. But that's not what Barr ruled, right? Barr didn't say anything about impeachment. Barr just said that there is nothing that is criminally prosecutable. Barr's letter and his statements go to that. The AG's job is not to determine whether something is impeachable or not. That's Congress's job. Well, the press have had a field day with Amash's tweets. Politico ran a long article about the bravery of Justin Amash for coming out and saying this. Again, if I thought that Amash were correct, I would think that it's brave. It's certainly brave to the extent that he's running against the prevailing winds inside his own party, but brave is not the same thing as correct. And in this particular case, I don't see that he is exactly correct here. According to Politico, in recent days, more rank-and-file Democrats have said they support initiating impeachment proceedings against the president. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and most Democratic leaders and committee chairs have resisted those calls, citing their ongoing investigations into the president's alleged conduct. The House Judiciary Committee, for example, is investigating Trump for allegations of obstruction of justice and abuses of power. Now, that is the most telling thing. The Democrats are really not all that interested in impeaching President Trump because they don't believe they have solid enough grounds with the American public to push for impeachment. They are afraid of the backlash should that happen. So when Amash says that Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct, the Democrats don't think so. The Democrats don't think so. And because the Democrats don't think so, it's interesting that Amash is arguing that extreme partisanship is undercutting the case for impeachment. I think that if extreme partisanship were to cut in favor of anything, it would cut in favor of impeachment. In a statement on Saturday, Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel slammed Amash for, quote, parroting the Democrats' talking points on Russia. McDaniel didn't explicitly endorse a GOP primary challenge to Amash in 2020, but noted that voters in Amash's district strongly support this president. Now, Amash does have a rival who is running in the primary and is campaigning in front of giant Trump flags. So it's pretty obvious this person knows where his bread is buttered with regard to the Republican base. President Trump himself fired back on Amash. I'll get to that in just 1 second. First, it is spring, the time of year when seeds grow into flowers and you grow up, financially at least. Your family needs protection if something should happen to you. That means you need life insurance. Thankfully, Policy Genius makes it easy to get that financial security without the growing pains. Policy Genius is the easy way to buy life insurance online. In just 2 minutes, you can compare quotes from top insurers and find your best price. Once you apply, the Policy Genius team will handle all the paperwork and the red tape. No commissions, no hidden fees, just financial protection and peace of mind, no strings attached. Policy Genius doesn't just do life insurance. They also make it easy to compare and buy home insurance, auto insurance, disability insurance. So, the next time you stop to smell the roses, pull out that phone, head on over to PolicyGenius.com. Policy Genius. Spring is here. Kick it off by nipping life insurance in the bud. Be a responsible adult. I know it's a part of adulting. They've turned it into a verb. A part of adulting is ensuring that you have taken care of your family if, God forbid, something should happen to you. I know it's depressing to think about, but once you get that life insurance taken care of, you don't have to worry about it again. At least your death won't destroy your family financially if you got life insurance. Go check them out right now. Policy Genius, and they have all sorts of insurance in other areas as well. PolicyGenius.com. Go check them out right now. So President Trump lashed back at Amash via Twitter. He said, never a fan of Justin Amash, a total lightweight who opposes me and some of our great Republican ideas and policies just for the sake of getting his name out there through controversy. If he actually read the biased Mueller report composed by 18 angry Dems who hated Trump, he would see it was nevertheless strong on no collusion and, ultimately, no obstruction. Anyway, how do you obstruct when there's no crime? And in fact, the crimes were committed by the other side. Justin is a loser who sadly plays right into our opponent's hands. So obviously, President Trump is taking it personally. When President Trump uses a couple of key terms, you know he's taking it personally. Lightweight and loser. When he calls someone a lightweight, that means the president is taking it personally. And by the way, I don't blame the president for taking it personally. Do I think it's good strategy to attack Amash here? No, you should just say, Justin Amash is entitled to his opinion. Obviously, I think he is misreading the report. And then if you want to encourage a primary challenge, you quietly do that. Nonetheless, the fact that Trump is angry about this, President Trump is feeling the pressure. There's just no question that President Trump is feeling the pressure, and it's not helping that there are people like Mitt Romney. Romney is out there saying Amash is brave. He disagrees with Amash, but Amash is brave. A statement with which I generally agree, but there's a general perception that Romney himself is much more comfortable attacking people on the right than people on the left. Here's Mitt Romney basically quasi-supporting Amash here.
My own view is that Justin Amash has reached a different conclusion than I have. I respect him. I think it's a courageous statement. But I believe that to make a case for obstruction of justice, you just don't have the elements that are evidenced in this document. And I also believe that an impeachment call is not only something that relates to the law, but also considers practicality and politics. And the American people just aren't there. And I think those that are considering impeachment have to look also at the jury, which would be the Senate. The Senate is certainly not there either.
Okay, Romney is right about all of the last part of it. The problem is that the people who are expressing sympathy for Amash as a general rule are people who the Republican base does not trust, and Mitt Romney is one of those people, unfortunately. Okay, in just a second, we're going to get to the real reason that President Trump is, I think, on edge. And the real reason he is on edge is because the president is running a very tough re-elect race. The fact is the polls are not cutting in his favor in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. President Trump has solidified Ohio. He has not solidified Florida. If the economy goes south at all, not only does the president lose re-election, the president loses re-election pretty handily. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings here, but the fact is that the polls are just not good for the president at this point. He has to bet on the Democrats destroying themselves. And this is why most Democrats at this point, or at least a plurality of Democrats, are looking to Joe Biden. The reason they're looking to Biden is because they think that Biden is moderate enough to win a state like Florida and take Pennsylvania away from Trump and take Wisconsin away from Trump and take Michigan away from Trump. And by the way, that is what the polls show at this point in time. Now, listen, we're a year and a half out. A lot can happen. Joe Biden could fall apart at the seams. He has before in presidential races. And the fact is that the Democratic Party is increasingly a radical party. Representative Pramila Jayapal, and she came out over the weekend and she described the Democratic Party. And the fact is that the Democratic Party's policies are well to the left of mainstream America.
I think the party's response is going to be strong, and hopefully you've seen that it's strong across the board. Personally, I do think that there should be a set of core democratic ideals that we all agree to, and that you can't say you're a Democrat if you're against immigrants, if you're against abortion, if you're against gay marriage and LGBTQ rights. I'm not sure what it means to be a Democrat if all of those things are true.
Okay, so basically, Jayapal, who's a congresswoman from Washington, all Democrats are pro-illegal immigration, all of them are pro-abortion, all of them are pro-gay marriage, all of them are pro-LGBT rights, which I assume would include the so-called Equality Act, which has passed the Democratic House and is an act so radical that many advocates of things like same-sex marriage are still looking at this and saying this violates core constitutional freedoms. It basically forces everyone in the country who is religious to knuckle under to the social left. The Democratic program is well to the left of the general public. So the Democrats instead are seeking to present the most palatable face. And that really looks like Joe Biden right now, because Joe Biden is widely considered the not only most known Democrat, but also the guy that most Americans are kind of comfortable with. It's hard to find a lot of Americans who have tremendous amounts of ire or disdain for Joe Biden. At worst, they think that he's kind of a dunderhead. But there are not a lot of Republicans who are motivated by Joe Biden to go out there in the same way that they were motivated by Hillary Clinton, who they saw as a really nefarious character. Biden, thus, is making a pretty generic Democratic argument for why he ought to be president right now. He is fibbing all the while doing it. He is, in fact, a demagogue. I mean, this is a guy who, again, back in 2012, suggested that black people were going to be put back in chains by Mitt Romney, of all humans. But over the weekend, he was out there campaigning, and he's doing the moderate thing. He says, listen, we don't need to be angry. Our politics is too angry. I will remind you that last week at a rally, a woman got up and said to him that she believes that Donald Trump stole the election and effectively was a tool of Russia, and Biden said, maybe you should be my running mate. So much for no anger in politics. Here's Joe Biden doing that routine, though.
I know some of the really smart folks say Democrats don't want to hear about unity. They say Democrats are so angry that the angrier a candidate can be, the better chance he or she has to win the Democratic nomination. Well, I don't believe it. I really don't. If Democrats, I believe Democrats want to unify this nation. That's what our party's always been about. If the American people want a president to add to our division, lead with a clenched fist, a closed hand, a hard heart, to demonize your opponent, to spew hatred, they don't need me. They've got President Donald Trump.
Okay, well, the fact is that Barack Obama did run with a closed fist and a hard heart. He was quite cruel to his political opponents throughout his presidency. He was constantly suggesting that his political opponents were motivated by racism and greed. Joe Biden did a lot of the same sort of stuff. Nonetheless, this is the face that Democrats are going to try to present. And here's the thing. A lot of people are saying Joe Biden is running Hillary Clinton's campaign. And to a certain extent, he is. The difference is that Joe Biden is not Hillary Clinton. You can run an identical campaign, but the face that you present to the public makes a huge, huge difference. Now, Biden is also making the case that President Trump's economy is an inherited economy. It's the Obama economy. Now, there is some truth to that in the sense that the stock market did grow consistently from 2009 to 2016. There is a bit of lack of truth in the sense that the economy of the United States was growing in the slowest recovery in the history of the United States, and then Trump took office, and correlation does not always equal causation, but the economy has dramatically accelerated under President Trump in terms of quarter-to-quarter GDP growth. Here is Joe Biden, though, saying that Donald Trump inherited all the good stuff.
I know President Trump likes to take credit for the economy and the economic growth and the low unemployment numbers, but just look at the facts, not the alternative facts. President Trump inherited an economy from Obama-Biden administration that was given to him, just like he inherited everything else in his life.
Okay, so this is the case that Joe Biden is obviously going to be making. Now, as I say, the Democratic Party platform is way out to the left. Joe Biden simply puts a palatable face on that Democratic Party platform. And it's interesting because President Trump is really trying desperately not to be drawn into some of the most politically polarizing fights. So over the weekend, President Trump was asked, for example, about Pete Buttigieg and his gay marriage. And Trump said, there are a lot of people in my own party who oppose same-sex marriage. I'm not one of those people. I think it's great. So that's Trump trying to defang that particular argument from the left. He did the same thing on abortion. Over the weekend, President Trump suggested that Alabama's abortion law was effectively too strict. The president tweeted out that he was strategically against it. And I think, as I said last week, that there's a case to be made that the Alabama abortion law, while morally correct, is a strategic mistake in the sense that it is highly, highly unlikely that the Supreme Court is ready to strike down Roe versus Wade. Still, the fact that President Trump is attempting to kind of elide the issue shows that President Trump is also trying to run for that moderate middle. Now, President Trump tweeted this out. He said, as most people know, and for those who would like to know, I am strongly pro-life with 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and protecting the life of the mother, the same position taken by Ronald Reagan. We have come very far in the last 2 years with 105 wonderful new federal judges, 2 great new Supreme Court justices, the Mexico City policy, and a whole new and positive attitude about the right to life. The radical left, with late-term abortion and worse, is imploding on this issue. We must stick together and win for life in 2020. If we are foolish and do not stay united as one, all of our hard-fought gains for life can and will rapidly disappear. That's President Trump trying to defang some of the controversy over abortion law. So President Trump is trying to run for the middle. And the truth is his policies are a lot closer to the middle than Joe Biden's. Now, in a second, I will provide proof that the Democratic Party is basically just trying to put a palatable face on radical leftism, while Trump is actually much more moderate on policy than, I think, the typical Republican. We'll get to that in just one second. First, let me explain. When I'm on the road, I just don't sleep as well. The reason I don't sleep as well is because I don't have my Helix sleep mattress. Helix Sleep mattresses are made just for you. Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete. They match your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. Whether you're a side sleeper, a hot sleeper, whether you like a plush or firm bed, with Helix, there's no more confusion and no more compromising. Helix Sleep is rated the #1 mattress by GQ and Wired Magazine. CNN called it the most comfortable mattress they've ever slept on. Just go to helixsleep.com/Ben. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz. They will match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. For couples, Helix can even split the mattress down the middle, providing individual support needs and feel preferences for each side. They've got a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix is offering up to $125 off all mattress orders for our listeners. Get up to $125 off at helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben for up to $125 off your mattress order. helixsleep.com/Ben. I love my Helix Sleep mattress, as I've expressed. My wife and I ordered it after getting it personalized for us. It is just fantastic. I can't wait to get home today and go to sleep upon the Helix Sleep mattress. You'll feel the same. helixsleep.com/Ben for up to $125 off your mattress order. Okay, so the other candidate in the Democratic race who has been heating up is Pete Buttigieg. This has been true for months. The reason that Pete Buttigieg has risen in the polls is because Pete Buttigieg puts out a moderate face on radical policy, unlike Elizabeth Warren, who seems like a radical, and Bernie Sanders, who is openly a radical, and Kamala Harris, who is openly a radical. Pete Buttigieg has attempted to kind of play it both ways. He's the best politician in this race on the Democratic side, including Joe Biden. I mean, he's coming out of nowhere in South Bend, Indiana, with effectively no real record to run on. It's pretty impressive. I mean, honestly, because if you look at the polling in South Bend, according to a report that just came out recently, the City of South Bend Community Survey from 2018, 65% of South Bend residents are dissatisfied with the maintenance of city streets, sidewalks, and infrastructure. 51% don't agree they have an overall feeling of safety in their neighborhood. 64% disagree that the city has a safe community for everyone. 70% don't agree the city has a vibrant, welcoming neighborhood. 71% don't agree the city has a strong, inclusive economy. And 72% don't agree that all residents are empowered with education, mobility, and technology. There's been an uptick in violence as well in the city of South Bend. Nonetheless, Pete Buttigieg is running a successful campaign for, I think, probably the vice presidency. Why? Because he is putting that palatable face on radical policies. And we're going to deconstruct how Democrats are successful at doing this. So Pete Buttigieg, his #1 pitch is that Trump is a bad man. Trump is a very, very orange man bad, very, very bad man. So Pete Buttigieg, first of all, is smart enough to go on Fox News. This is a smart move. The reason it's a smart move is because he understands that there really is no loss for him. If things go badly for him, he just claims that Fox News is biased against the left. And if things go well for him, then he gets to claim that he has walked into the lion's den and emerged unscathed. Also, he rips into Fox News on Fox News, which, as a person who's done this personally, is a very good tactic. It's a good tactic. So Buttigieg starts off by attacking President Trump as a grotesque human.
How would you handle the insults and the attacks and the tweets and all of that?
The tweets are, I don't care.
And that gets a lot of applause here. The fact is, it's a very effective way for him to reach tens of millions of Americans.
Well, it's a very effective way to command the attention of the media. And I think that we need to make sure that we're changing the channel from this show that he's created. Because what matters, and I get it, look, it's mesmerizing. It's hard for anybody to look away. Me too. It is the nature of grotesque things that you can't look away.
Okay, so so I think that his take here is the smart take, which is, I don't care about his tweets. President Trump is just a grotesque figure. Again, Orange Man Bad is part of the Democratic campaign, but he looks moderate by not fulminating, right? Buttigieg's attitude is, I'm going to smile through this, I'm not going to fulminate, which is a smart thing to do. And then Buttigieg pleases the left by going after Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham on Fox News. This is his big win that he's going to get from the left.
You know, a lot of folks in my party were critical of me for even doing this with Fox News. And
I've heard that.
and I get where that's coming from, especially when you see what goes on with some of the opinion hosts on this network. I mean, when you got Tucker Carlson saying that immigrants make America dirty, when you've got Laura Ingraham comparing detention centers with children in cages to summer camps, then there is a reason why anybody has to swallow hard and think twice before participating in this media ecosystem.
Okay, so again, this is his way of pandering to the left. Now, the reality is that what Tucker Carlson actually said is he said that if you bring in a lot of people from countries that don't have the same culture regarding keeping the streets clean, the streets will be a little more dirty. That's my recollection of Tucker Carlson's comments. I don't think they're wonderful comments, but I also don't think that Buttigieg is being accurate in his characterization. And as far as Laura Ingraham, again, I don't think they're wonderful comments when she is comparing detention centers to summer camps. But my recollection of that is that what she is discussing is that people actually are being treated pretty humanely in detention centers, which is generally a true story. Okay, nonetheless, Buttigieg wins some points with the left for saying all of that sort of stuff. And because he is coming off as moderate, because of the way he expresses himself as a moderate, he's able to get away with pushing very extreme policies. This is the Democratic plan for 2020, is to push extraordinarily radical policies, but pretend that you are not radical by acting moderate. So here's Pete Buttigieg on abortion. He's asked about whether abortions should be restricted, and he basically says no, there should be no restrictions on abortion, but after all, he's saying it in nice tone, so I guess he's a moderate now.
What policies would you put in place to protect every woman, regardless of her zip code's right to have an abortion?
Thank you. So I believe that the right of a woman to make her own decisions about her reproductive health and about her body is a national right. I believe it's an American freedom. And I believe that should be enjoyed by women in every state.
Now, it's funny because a lot of people are pointing out that he's getting a big ovation in the Fox News studios. That's because the people who are going to the Fox News town hall with Pete Buttigieg are not rabid right-wingers. They're fans of Pete Buttigieg. Bernie Sanders also got big ovations while he was on Fox News. Then Buttigieg was asked specifically about third trimester abortions. And Pete Buttigieg defended third trimester abortions, partial birth abortion, abortion up to point of birth. These are radical positions that the American public does not hold. Here's Pete Buttigieg making that defense.
You're saying that you would be okay with a woman well into the third trimester deciding to abort her pregnancy.
Look, these hypotheticals are usually set up in order to provoke a strong emotional...
In fairness, sir, it's not hypothetical. There's 6,000 women a year who get abortions in the third
That's right,
trimester.
representing less than 1% of cases.
I know,
but
but 6,000 pregnancy.
If it's that late in your pregnancy, that means almost by definition, you've been expecting to carry it to term. We're talking about women who have perhaps chosen a name, women who have purchased a crib, families that then get the most devastating medical news of their lifetime.
Okay, that is not true. If you look at the rationales that are generally given for late-term abortion, it is not health problems in the vast majority of cases, according to the Alan Guttmacher Institute, according to people who have surveyed women who have late-term abortions. He sounds moderate, and Buttigieg is really good at this, but because Wallace was not asking serious follow-up questions there, I mean, he started to, right? He says there are 6,000 pregnancies. And Buttigieg goes, well, it's just 1% of cases. Why are we even worried about those 1% of cases? Well, let's put it this way. More people are killed every year in late-term abortions, 1% of all cases, in America, it's about 1 million abortions a year. So that means that 1% of 1 million is what, 10,000 cases a year? 10,000 people about somewhere in that neighborhood are killed with guns in the United States, not in suicides, but in homicides. That's that number of late-term abortions. I don't see Pete Buttigieg talking about why shootings in the United States are not a huge problem. Nonetheless, he does come off as more moderate. And this is the pitch of the Democratic Party. It's a personality pitch. It is not actually a political pitch. It's a personality pitch. We'll continue along these lines, and then we'll show you what it looks like when you remove the nice personality and you get Bernie Sanders. Because it's the same policies, it's just that now the nice personality is gone, and you get the irritating guy from Brooklyn. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. First, it's summer. The only thing more annoying than fake news are flies and other insects invading your home. Here in California, we got this in spades. I mean, it is brutal. Who knows where those flies were last? The fly that just landed on your hamburger? Well, that could have been anywhere, from another piece of food to, well, just think about it, or don't, because it's disgusting. So, we would like to thank our sponsors over at Dynatrap. Dynatrap is the leading manufacturer of outdoor mosquito and insect traps. Now they've come up with a solution for indoor pests, the Dynatrap Fly Light. The Dynatrap Fly Light works day and night to attract and trap flies, fruit flies, mosquitoes, other pesky insects. It does really work. I've got a couple of them in my kitchen. It is just fantastic. You don't even notice how many flies are in your kitchen until you realize how many flies are in your kitchen because you have a fly trap there that prevents them from getting into your food. Forget those disgusting fly strips. The Dynatrap Fly Light looks like a subtle night light that plugs into any indoor outlet. I've been using the Dynatrap Fly Light for a couple of years now, actually. It's insane, the number of insects that have been caught that otherwise would be buzzing around my home annoying me. Get yours at Dynatrap.com. That is Dynatrap.com. That's Dynatrap.com. Enter promo code DailyWire, and you receive 15% off any of their products. Dynatrap, the safe, silent, simple solution to household insect control. That is Dynatrap.com. Safe, silent, simple. It's fantastic. Go check them out right now. And again, use promo code DailyWire. Get 15% off any of their products. Okay, in just a second, we'll finish up with Pete Buttigieg's big move on Fox News, and then we'll show you what Buttigieg's agenda looks like when it is expressed by somebody who is not Pete Buttigieg. Presentation is everything in presidential politics. We'll get to that in a second. First, you have to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. For $9.99 a month, you can subscribe to dailywire.com. When you do, the rest of the show live, 2 additional hours every day of the show, which is a fantastic deal. You get to be behind the paywall with me, so you can watch it live, like watch it, not just listen to it. Also, you can email me in the mailbag. I will answer your questions, all sorts of goodies. We do the conversation. We do Daily Wire Backstage. You get your Sunday special on Saturday, a day early. You get extra content with the Sunday special guest, all sorts of goodies. All you have to do is go to dailywire.com, and when you spend $99 a year, which is cheaper than the monthly, and you get the Leftist Tears Hot or Cold Tumbler, you receive the greatest of all beverage vessels for just $99 a year. It does make a fantastic Father's Day gift. Father's Day is coming up, June 16th. So go out and get yourself a subscription right now to dailywire.com or get one for Dad. I think he'll appreciate it. Also, make sure that you subscribe over YouTube or iTunes. Leave us a review. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast and radio show in the nation.